We're holding Siman Shinyat Ches, Sif Tezayin, it's the middle of Shiur number 27. So before we start the Sif, it looks like a very simple Sif, but there's a lot behind it. So I'd like to first give a small Hakdama. And this Sif is also, it's tied to a Sif in Siman Shin Chaf, and it's based on the Gemara. The Gemara says that Eimer Raskin lo yisashalag v'lo yisabar b'Shabbos. You're not allowed to take snow or ice and smash it up on Shabbos. Why? So the Gemara says in order to get the water out. The Gemara doesn't give the reason why. The Gemara says you can't take ice or snow and break it up in order to make it into water. So Rashi says the reason is the kamoilad v'Shabbos, the dama the malacha shaboyre mayam halal. Rashi says it looks like you're creating something new on Shabbos. It looks like a malacha. You have ice, you have snow, you're changing it into water. So it looks like you're creating something new. Therefore, it's an isser of nira kimalacha. It looks like you're being moilid on Shabbos. Now this has no shaykhus to the regular sugya of moilid on Shabbos. This whole isser, maybe it's a deraisa even of moilid in the beginning of Masechtas Beya, Beya Shernel v'Shabbos. This is no shaykhus to that sugya. Here, it's not really a moilid, not really creating anything new. Basically, just taking the ice and making it into water. Says Rashi, it's nira k'moilid, it's a malacha because it's domi l'malacha. That's Rashi, and the Gemara says, but you're allowed to put it into a kais, you're allowed to put it into a cup of water, that it should melt into the water. That's what the Gemara says. That's Rashi. The Rosh brings down from the Sefer Truma, which is Rabbi Baruch, that he says that if you want to take pashtida and put it next to a fire on Shabbos, and there's fats on it, and the fats melts, so it's similar to ice that you're breaking it up and making it into water. So he says it's also to put this pashtida next to the fire, also because the fats it's become nimuach, it's become liquefied, and it looks like moilid. That's what Rabbi Baruch says. Now, we'll have to see, as we learn the Sif, what is the Isser of Rabbi Baruch? What is he saying? Rashi says that if you take ice and you break it up, it's nira k'moilid, it's asur. You put the ice by the fire, and it's going to melt. According to Rashi, it's mutter. Why? Because you're not breaking it up, you're not making the water yourself. You put it next to the fire, and it melts. It's melts me'elav, it's called. It melts by itself. You're not doing it. So Rashi holds it's not a problem. Rabbi Baruch says if you put it by the fire, it's a problem because even though it's happening me'elav, it's still a problem.
You're making it hot. It's heating it up.
Yeah, but you're not melting it. You put it by the fire, now it's melting by itself.
Ice cream on the hot day, it's going to melt.
Yeah. So Rashi holds that it's not domi to malacha. It doesn't look like a malacha only if you're doing it b'yadayim. But if you put it someplace and it's next to a fire and it's going to melt because of the fire, there Rashi holds it's not nira k'malacha. It doesn't look like a malacha.
It's more of a groma, really, no?
Yeah, but you don't have to come into groma even. You don't have to come into groma because the whole thing is not an isser really. The whole breaking the ice is not an isser. It's only nira k'malacha. It looks like you're doing a malacha. Rashi holds when you put it next to the fire, it's not nira k'malacha because it doesn't look like you're doing anything. You just put it by the fire and you walked away. Now it's melting by itself. So Rashi holds that's not called domi l'malacha. It doesn't look like a malacha when you put it next to the fire.
So once it's melted and now it heats up, is it bishul or?
Oh, so we'll get to bishul. We'll get to bishul soon. Let's leave bishul out for now. So Rashi holds that it's not nira k'malacha if you put it there and it happens by itself. The Sefer Shuman Rabbi Baruch says, if you take pashtida, which is shuman korish, you put it next to the fire, it is domi l'malacha. It does look like a malacha, even though it's happening by itself, it's still asur. That's what Rabbi Baruch says.
Is this figure this we're talking about now? Is it the same as Perish Shayazava, or is Perish Shayazava really Nola, like in Beit Shayazava?
No, Perish Shayazava is also not Nola.
So Perish Shayazava is this.
So this is
similar to this.
So you're right.
It's in this figure, not in the figure.
Correct. Correct. Perish Shayazava is in the Shayim, some of the Shayim say the reason why it's also over here because it's doim with the Perish Shayazava. It's similar to Perish that the liquid comes out of it, and it looks like you're creating. But Perish Shayazava was a different problem. Perish Shayazava is Issa Schita.
If you do it.
Yeah. So therefore, if it comes out by itself, we ask that they shouldn't come with the Schita. And that's Perish Shayazava. So Gzeir is Schita. So some Rishonim want to say over here also, it's also because it's doima to Perish Shayazava, which is an Issa of Schita. So that's the Rashi and Rabbi Baruch, and we'll see at the end it's going to come out to be big machlokes in Achronim. What's the pshat in Rabbi Baruch? Does he hold that now when I put it next to the fire, it still looks like I'm doing a malacha, and therefore it's aser? Or no, he holds any time it turns from a shuman to a liquid, or from ice to a liquid, it's also because it's a new creation. That's what's going to be the shiloh at the end. I'll have to go through the see, but we'll see what we...
There's nobody that... Where do we get that source from? I mean, even Rashi would agree that on its own, there's no Isser.
Right. Rashi.
So the Sefer Truma can't be based on that part of Rashi.
All right. So that's what we're going to see. Very good. That's what we're going to see. Rashi, according to Rashi, if you have, let's say, perfect example, you have ice sitting around, and it turns into liquid, according to Rashi, nothing wrong with drinking it, it's fine. There's no Isser. This is only if you take ice and you break it up, then it's aser, and since it's aser, so therefore maybe you can use the water afterwards because you did an issue with it.
The only thing would be that placing it near the fire is the act like crushing.
Right, so that's what we'll see. That's what we'll see. What does the Sefer Truma say? Does the Sefer Truma say that placing it next to the fire is the same act as crushing, even though it's happening by itself since you place it next to the fire? If that would be the case, then according to Rabbi Baruch, if you stuck ice out of the freezer, you left it on your counter, you didn't do anything really, that maybe the water is mutter. But
no, but what's the difference? Being next to a fire,
no, if next to a fire, you're making it melt.
Same thing when you take it out of the freezer.
Room temperature, the friends say, is not called. I did a ma'aser to melt it. Took it out of the freezer. Now they say like this. They say basically what you're doing is, in the freezer it keeps it ice.
Yeah.
Out of the freezer, you're taking away the thing that's keeping it ice. You're not making it melt. When you put it next to the fire, you're doing an act to make it melt.
One is more active and the other one is passive.
Right.
So if I bring stuff from outside inside...
Correct, the same thing.
No, but now I've got a fire in my house which is keeping the house warm.
No, so if you put it next to the fire...
But the whole material is the house.
Yeah, but so they say room temperature. They say room temperature is basically I'm taking away the thing that's keeping it ice. I'm not melting it. When you put it to higher than room temperature next to the fire, you're doing an act to melt it.
Physically, you're adding more heat to it and making it...
Also, how the Sefer Truma learned the Gemara? The Gemara itself tells us that you're allowed to take water, ice, and...
right? And put it into water, into a cup.
So it can't be that Rabbi Baruch is going to be learning the Gemara.
No, so the Gemara's case is because since when it turns into water, you never see it, so it's not called Moilad. It's not Be'en right away when it comes out, so it's not called Moilad. You don't see anything. You never see Be'en, therefore it's not called, it doesn't look like Moilad. So according to Rabbi Baruch, maybe only if you put it into a glass of water and it melts into the glass of water, there is mutter. But if it's sitting out and it melts, maybe there will be also. We'll have to see. This is we'll see the sif and it will be a lot clearer. This is the halacha of ice is really in Siman Shin Chaf. But in Siman Shin Chaf it doesn't say much. The Ramah, even the Ramah doesn't bring down the Rabbi Baruch. Someone over here that brings down the Rabbi Baruch. So let's go through the sif and then we'll see what this din of Rabbi Baruch is. It says the Mechaber, Mutter Lita in Panado Kenegel Eish, which is like a knish, which has an shumin, but Mokam Shayat Shaledes, in a place where it's very hot. Shumin Shabo Shayit Nikrash Chayzer B'Nimuach. Even though the shumin which is on it is it become liquefied? Doesn't make a difference. You're allowed to do it, and there's no problem of this. Like Rashi, the Rashi holds when you put something next to the fire, that's called memela. It's not the same thing as taking ice and crushing it. Putting something next to the fire is happening memela, and it's not called the you did it, so it's not domil melacha, and therefore it's mutter. That's the mechaber. Because shkin kadei sheyesh beiroitiv shenikrash, a pot that has on top of it roitiv that became hard, shekshashumin imuach einay be'en, when the neshumin melt, it's not be'en. The shari, it's a shul mutter, because there you also have the heter that when it melts, it's not be'en. So according to Rashi, in this case, you have two heterim. First of all, you didn't do it b'yadayim. You just put it next to the fire and melt it by itself. And second of all, when it melts, it's not be'en. Kolshkan the shari. V'yesh machmirim. So some people that are machmir, which is the Baruch, and he doesn't explain why. The minig is machmir like the Baruch. Me b'mokum tzarich is litzmach asvara rishayna. B'mokum tzarich you can be samich on Rashi.
How much fat is too much fat?
That's the mechaber.
How much fat is too much fat?
What do you mean too much?
Like gravy, it starts to melt. How much is too much?
Okay, we'll see if it leaks out.
Probably everything.
Yeah.
Even one drop will not.
Yeah, so we'll see. Let's see the Magen Avraham. Says the Magen Avraham. So first the Magen Avraham goes into an issue. Besides the issue that it's melting and it's noilad, there's another issue of bishul. So it says the Magen Avraham, Mokum she'yas l'adis boy, kosav alavush yesh lo sefer v'tzarch loymar, v'mokum she'ena yas l'adis boy. The Lavush says that there is a Torah sefer in the mechaber, and it should say you're allowed to put in panada in a place where it's not a yatz l'adis boy, and it's going to melt. But in a place where it gets to yatz l'adis boy, there is a problem. The b'mokum she'yatz l'adis boy also mishum bishul. Then it's also already because it's called bishul. When it's called for Rabbi Yosef Gabi Shemen, like the Yosef writes by Shemen. So now the Lavush says you have an issue here when you have this panadish, this empanada which you put next to the fire. There's shuman on it, and it's cold, obviously. So what happens is we know ein bishul acha bishul by davar yavesh. He says something that's shuman has a din like a davar lach. So if it melts and it gets cooked again, it's called bishul acha bishul b'davar lach. Says the Lavush. It's a mistake here in the mechaber. Should say v'mokum she'en yatz l'adis boy. Says the Magen Avraham v'linir the loydok. He wasn't medayik the Lavush. The hacha kivish in his bashal kvar v'hu yavesh. Since this was cooked already once, the shumin on the panadish, and now it's a yavesh. Ein boy mishum bishul. Moshe kosav sif tazvav v'ayin simulation gibel sif heid isib hed dekach. Says the Magen Avraham that something that's shumid that becomes hard. So what is that? Is that called davar yavesh or is that called davar lach? So says the Magen Avraham Chiddush. If you have something that's hard, shumid, and you cook it up, it has a din of bishul acha bishul by davar lach, and we by davar yavesh and we know davar yavesh and bishul acha bishul. So if something is hard, shumid, it's nikrash, it's gelled. Gel, says the Magen Avraham, is called davar yavesh, and therefore ein bishul acha bishul over here. So you have nothing to worry about bishul acha bishul.
So if I boil water, freeze it.
So if you boil water and you freeze it and you cook it, that's different. That's different. The reason is that the Achrayim speak out because shumin, fat, gels, but not because it's frozen. Even at room temperature it gels. Anything that gels at room temperature, it's called davar yavesh. Anything you have to freeze, that's not called davar yavesh.
It's too official. That's what makes a difference.
Go on.
Too official. That's what makes a difference.
Yeah, that's what the Magen Avraham says. If it's yavesh, it's called. If it's gels, it's called yavesh.
But what about a case where you're taking something that's mamish frozen, like a pashtita that's taken from the freezer, it's not edible as frozen, and now you're changing it to something that's edible.
That's fine.
But we learned that that's not good, right? Like you can't change something that's not edible into something that's edible, right?
Because it's frozen?
Yeah.
You can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone's in the freezer and it's
like
frozen.
fruits. It says, if you put them on the barbecue, now it tastes better, whatever.
No, that's what we change it. Here we just take it out of the freezer.
You're thinking about salted fish?
Yeah,
It wasn't edible until you rinsed it?
Yeah, well, this
No, for that, it said it's only if it's the bishul that changes it. The cooking changes it. If we rinse it with cold water, we said it's fine. And even those who hold that rinsing with cold water is a problem with the makapatish ba'ichlin.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, this is what we call makapatish ba'ichlin. But this is done. We first we didn't hold the makapatish ba'ichlin, Mr. Bruce says we didn't hold of it. But even if you would hold the makapatish ba'ichlin, something that's frozen and you defrost it is not called makapatish. It's already a finished thing. It happens to be frozen.
You defrost because you warm it up. So now it's tastes better.
If you warm it,
defrost piece of whatever.
no, if you warm it up with something else. If just the frosting itself is not a problem. So says the Magen Avraham.
If it's be'ain though, according to the Magen Avraham, it should still be fine.
If it's be'ain.
Like even if you have like a thick amount of gravy that's nikrush, right? If it's not called bishul anymore, then what's the issue?
What do you mean? So it is mutter.
You don't have the bishul problem. He's only addressing the bishul problem.
You want to know according to the Baruch you mean?
He's not.
Yeah.
No, that's a problem. No, lads. There's two issues here. We have one issue of Noilad and one issue of Bishul. The beginning of the Magen Avraham now is talking about the Bishul issue. We're going now without the Rebbeinu Baruch. We're going now, even according to Rashi, the Rashi says there's no problem with Noilad. So you have Shumin and you're melting it. It's not a problem of Noilad because it's happening in Mela. But there could be a problem. You put it in Makom Shiyat Letters boy. Says the Levush, it's a problem Bishul Lacha Bishul. Says the Magen Avraham, it's not a problem Bishul Lacha Bishul. Why? Because the Davi Yavesh, Shumim, which is Yavesh, is dry, has a din Yavesh b'negei Bishul Lacha Bishul.
So there should not be any problem if you take it out of the freezer, or not freezer, even the refrigerator, and just put it on fire, because the shuman is nikrush now.
Right.
Although there is a big thing of shuman, and you put it on the thing.
If you take your chicken, there's another hat. You take your chicken that was nikrash, it has shuman in it, and it came out, and there's a little liquid on it. You put it on top of your challah pot, Shabbos morning. So we have the bishul lacha bishul b'davalach. According to this Magen Avraham, you have no problem.
That's not b'davalach.
It's a yavesh.
And
It's considered a yavesh.
Put it right on the fire.
It's considered a yavesh. Right.
Other than absolutely
Right, but some people say you have to. Some Achronim want to say that anything that gels only because it was in the refrigerator is not called davar yavesh. It has to gel by itself, even though it's not in the refrigerator.
No, it gels on the room temperature. Then you put
anything that gels at room temperature is called davar yavesh.
I never really saw.
I don't remember. One of the Achronim say I have to check it out. That anything that gels only in the refrigerator may not be called davar yavesh. So it could be the sauce of the chicken only gels in the refrigerator. But there's another issue you have to be careful with.
Soup would only gel in the...
soup also.
Soup would only gel in the refrigerator.
Right.
Not gel at room temperature.
Right, but the truth is here it says the shuman, here we're talking about shuman in the kedera. And that gels only in the refrigerator.
I need a little...
Yeah, but I don't know. That's already a sticky question, exactly when it's called gelled or not. But anything that gels, I don't know, a soup, I'm not sure. I know that's some machmir on a soup.
Poland in the winter, right? When you put it outside, it gels.
Yeah, because in the winter, because it's cold. It's not room temperature.
There's gelling and there's drying, right?
I remember those days.
It could dry on the pot.
Right, dries in the pot, then it's... Yeah. Is a kiva ega.
Do we have an issue with chazara though?
No, we put it on top of a pot. Yeah, a place was no problem of a Mexican mevashel. It's interesting to know that kiva ega is a kiva ega at the end of simulation of Gimel, which is very important to know for this Magen Avraham. So kiva ega says that this that we say that shumin is a davar yavesh and there's no bishul lacha bishul. Says in kiva ega when you put it there, it's called davar yavesh. Therefore, there's no bishul lacha bishul. But once it becomes a liquid, now it is a problem of bishul lacha bishul. That means if you're going to take it off and put it back on before it gets cooked, the same shuman, the same davar koresh, you put it on top of the pot, you leave it there, it's going to get very hot, it's going to get cooked, it's fine. Ain't bishul lacha bishul, davar yavesh. But if, let's say, you leave it there for a few minutes and it becomes a liquid, then you take it off, you want to put it back on, says now it's already a problem, bishul lacha bishul.
Yeah, now it's a davar lach.
Now it's a davar lach. Only when you put it there, it's a davar yavesh, even though it's going to turn into a davar lach, it's not a problem bishul lach bishul.
Right, so it's a question what state it was in at the time.
When you put it on the thing, right.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have shuman, a chicken that gelled, let's say, in the refrigerator, take it out. You didn't put it right away onto your challah pot, but it turned into a liquid a little bit, and then you put it onto your challah pot, then you have an issue. So you can't say no, it's a davar yavesh. Doesn't work that way, which is the chiddush of Kivega.
But in the Baruch would still hold that's a davar yavesh.
No, not dafka. Kivega is not arguing the Magen Avraham.
He's explaining it, right?
Yeah, he's explaining the Magen Avraham.
Can we hold by that, Rabbi Yechiel?
I think so. I don't know if anybody argues with Kivega. But Kivega is the end of Rishon Gimel. He's speaking about the case we had at the end of Simulation of Gimel, the Magen Avraham. If you pour hot water onto dishes that have shuman in them, so the Magen Avraham says there's no problem there of noilad. Magen Avraham says there's no problem. It's disif. Says the Magen Avraham over there's no problem. Noilad says ayin Semicha and chaf because it gets mixed into the water right away. It's not a problem. Noilad says the Kivega. You're right, there's no problem of noilad, but there should be a problem bishul lach bishul. Meaning, when you stop pouring the hot water onto the dirty plates, you're right, it's shumer that it's nikrash, so it's a davar yavesh. But after you pour some hot water and you're continuing to pour hot water on those dirty plates, eventually it's going to turn into a liquid, and then the hot water that you're pouring onto it is mevashel, the liquid. In the beginning, it's nikrash, but after a while, it turns into liquid. And then when you're pouring hot water onto that shumin, it's bishul lach bishul. So it says mefurish that only over here, Haynu hasay means by us kishenimuch etzel aish hu karish v'achar kach kishenimuach einei oised davar. After it gets liquid, you're not doing anything. Aval hacha in the case of Rishon Gimel, kivin sheba muad reischem ala shumin, when a little bit of hot water gets onto the shumin, nimsa becomes liquefied, v'nimuach, u'sheshayfich achar kach oid reischem hu mevashel halach. Now already you call being mevashel halach. So you see, Kivega learns that only while it's a yavesh, ain't bishul lach bishul. But if it's going to turn into liquid and then you want to put it back on, now it's already called a lach. And ain't bishul and yes bishul lach bishul, but double lach.
And here that doesn't apply because you're not actually doing any action.
Because you're not doing anything.
Action, it's
right.
Just sitting there by itself and then happening.
Right, that's what Kivega says there. When you put it there, you're not doing anything afterwards. Right, so that's the Magen Avraham who argues and the Levush. Levush holds, even though it's Shumach and Nikrach, it's called bishul lach bishul, and the Magen Avraham argues. Says the Magen Avraham weiter, v'chein mashma b'moradchad v'machmirim shari afilu b'mokum sheyatzil adisboy. The machmirim are the matirim. The one that are matir, they're matir even b'mokum sheyatzil adisboy because there's no problem of noilad, there's no problem bishul lach bishul because it's davar yavesh. Ach kosiv the toivli zoher shlalitin b'mokum sheyatzil adisboy. The Mordechai who goes with the Machmirim, we'll see at the end of the Magen Avraham what the reason is. He says that you shouldn't put him in Makom Sheyasal this way. There is even according to the Machmirim, who hold that Pashtid is a problem because even though you put it there, it's happening by itself. It's noilad, but it's not Makom Sheyasal this way. It won't melt so much, and it won't be nira noilad. We'll see soon. With Tkaya Pashtid, like a much saying about the Tkaya Shemen. The Rish learns it's going on Shemen, and he held that Shemen is a problem of, even though it's Nikrash, Bishul Lach Bishul, Hiksha Olav. Chen Kosel Kolba, Behedir, Shemen Ram, Ayin Sham. Chen Muver Gemor Barashi, Shekosel Kufim Hei, Shoyin Oisi Becham. He's being another Rai of the Magen Avraham, that something that was hard, Nikrash, and then it melts, is not called Bishul Lach Bishul when you put it on when it's Nikrash. What's the Raya? Because Rashi writes in Afkuf Mem Hei, Shoyin Oisi Bechamin. You're allowed to take something that was cooked before Shabbos and you're allowed to soak it in water on Shabbos. Shehei nimuach, it says in the Mishnah. It should be nimuach. Mashma she'afa peshe nimuach achakach yesh lai din davar yavesh. So the Magen Avraham has a diuk. it says in the Mishnah, which we had already before in the Siman, that something that was cooked, that was nishra and chamin before Shabbos, you're allowed to be shoyrit in chamin on Shabbos. Now, the Lashon HaMishnah is shehei nimuach, that should become dissolved. So obviously we're talking about a davar shamein that became a lach, that becomes a lach. And still Rashi says that it's cold, it's hard, they're allowed to put it into water on Shabbos, that it should become nimuach, and it's going to get cooked. What happened to bishul lach habishul b'davar lach? Now the Mayasi says the Magen Avram ain't bishul lach habishul by a davar shamein, something that's nikrash. Mashmash alf b'shin nimuach achar kach yes l'din yavesh v'void in shumin. Now so Mordechai v'al kol v'oich choshashul divrei bein Baruch. The reason why the Mordechai asked it is because he was choishish for the Rabbeinu Baruch, which is the Sefer HaTshuma, which the Magen Avram brings down over here, which the Ramah brings down over here. Don't put it b'makom shayatzel ledis boy. Why? Kedei shelo yehei nimuach kol kach sheyizoyvu l'chutz. So here already you have a heter. Even if you go l'chumra like the Rabbeinu Baruch, and you have pashtida that has shumin in it, as long as the shumin doesn't leak out of the pashtida, it stays inside, everyone agrees that it's mutter. In that case, everyone agrees that it's mutter, because it's not nicker. You don't see the shumin, so then we never acid it because of noilet. Leave it far away from the fire. Even though it melts inside the panadish, the empanada, less lanva, it's no problem. When the cost of Rabbi Sesiv, like the Sesiv right, we can't cost of a Sefer Minchas Chayin, Ayin Sham, Chemuva Ba'agol, Smak, the l-liyu, Pashtet, Shavin, it's all the same thing, there's no problem of Noilat. So the Magen Avram basically is saying, this that it says, the Mordechai says, don't put it b'makom sheyatz ledis boy, he's not going in the problem of Bishul. Bishul is not a problem because it's a davar nikrash, it's a problem of Noilat, and therefore when it's Yatz ledis boy, what's going to happen is, it's going to get so hot that it's going to leak out of the panadish, and there already the yesh machmirim, the Rabbeinu Baruch is going to answer it. As long as it stays contained in the panadish, there everyone's going to agree that it's mutter, because it doesn't look like noilat. The same thing we'll have later on, Semicha and Chaf, they're allowed to put the ice in a cup and crush it in the cup, because there when it's becoming water, it's already inside of the water, so it's never nearer. It doesn't look like noilat. Only in the case where it leaks out, or you're crushing it up, and the water comes out, there it looks like noilat.
We also learned that if there's moisture inside of a davar yavesh, it's okay as well, right?
Yes, akol bishul. Yeah, it's akol bishul. It's not a problem. That's the thing. Moisture stays inside.
Yeah, so I'm saying, like we learned before that moisture, like moisture is okay. Why is this a finish that shaman, which is
no, the shaman is melts. Shaman there's no problem. No problem. Right.
If it's not yatz ledis, but it's the type of food that you think it'll melt and come out.
So then according to Rabbeinu Baruch, it's also. Usually a panadish, it's not yatz ledis, but it won't leak out. It won't get that hot that it will leak out. And it's not yatz ledis is a tova that you shouldn't get involved. You shouldn't.
It's not a catch-all.
Correct. It depends.
And if it's yatz ledis and you know that it won't leak out.
Also it's okay. It's also okay. According to the Magen Avram, there's no problem with bishul. Yeah, yatz ledis is just it's a tova that it shouldn't be known, that it shouldn't leak out.
So it depends on the type of food.
Yeah, it depends on the type of food. According to the Levush, yatz ledis is a problem because it's bishul achar bishul. That's how the Magen Avram starts off.
Right.
That the Levush says it's a toy safe for yatz ledis because you have a problem with bishul achar bishul. According to the Magen Avram, there's no problem with bishul achar bishul. The only problem would be, according to the Machmirim, then it would depend if it leaks out. So yatz ledis usually leaks out. The Magen Avram says kol memalef and kol shken kedei sheyesh bo roitiv. The shari al mekamakim osem mitam bishul lo oisrim kol shekos sif tezvav. So here already it says if you take the don't forget here we're talking about kedei sheyesh bo roitiv. Before we spoke about a panadish. Panadish is a davar yavesh. the shumin and nikrash according to the Magen Avraham is also considered davar yavesh. You don't have to worry about the atzalat this way. Mashenken a kedera, which is a liquid, you have it as some shumin. So here the Magen Avraham says, here you have to be careful. Because of the problem of bishul. Because the pat, the kedera is a liquid. Forget about the shumin in the kedera. The kedera itself is a liquid. For that you have to be careful already of bishul. Says the Magen Avraham Vitamin Beis Yesh Machmirim Mishum Tashumin Sof Lamayla have a bed. So here you have a chumrah. Here you have a chumrah already. The Magen Avraham comes to the chumrah here, which not everyone agrees to, which is really the Ramah, is that according to the Rabbi Baruch, that we say noilet is aser. That means if you take shumin be'en, you put it next to the fire and it leaks out, it's aser. Why? That's called noilat. That's only when it's by itself. We saw later on, we saw in the Peshesim, it's later on Shemesh and Chaf, that if it goes into a kais, it's not a problem, but it's not be'en. Here, the Ramah comes to the finish. That it is called be'en. Why? So he says, since shumin floats on top, fats always floats on top of the liquid, so even though it melts into the liquid, it's already a problem because it's nira. Even after the shumin melts, you can see it floating on top. Therefore, it's awesome. So here you have an exception to the case that when it melts into something, for example, pashtida, when the shumin melts into the pashtida, you don't see it. It stays inside, you don't even see it. If you have a soup and you have fats on top of it, even after the fats melt, it's still lying on top. You still see it on top. Therefore, says the Ramah, that according to the Machmirim, it's still going to be aser because we see it as noilet. It's nicker. How do you
learn this Magen Avraham? Is he just explaining the Ramah now? Because otherwise he seems like he's arguing on Sif Cotton Men.
Why?
Because in Sif Cotton Men it says don't worry about the solid. That's
bishul. That's bishul. Here we're talking about asnoilat. Sif Cotton Men, his Memi says don't worry about bishul. There's no problem with bishul. According to everybody, there's no problem with bishul.
Right.
Except this, arguing the levush. Here he's saying the Yesh Machmirim hold is a problem of me'en. When it's noilat and you see it, there's a problem of noilat.
Right, but how do we understand, the way we first learned this, at least we started, we said the Magen Avraham was talking about there's no problem with bishul, but we understood that there was no problem of noilat because he didn't hold of the, or you were just learning that in the Mechaber.
In the Mechaber, yeah.
So we don't know how to, basically the Magen Avraham is just explaining both. We don't see his shita.
Correct.
Because he's explaining the sheet of noilat. He's explaining the sheet of that.
Correct.
He himself doesn't see his own.
It's Sif Cotton Mem. He's explaining no problem of bishul.
Right.
Those who hold the problem of noilat.
Right. So it's not his sheet.
Right. Correct. Yeah. So here he's saying we should assume stuff l'malav have a be'en have a noilat. The dom of the mashkin shezavim. Masha enke b'sheleg the shari. When you have sheleg, we have snow in water, even though you grind it in the water, you're making it melt, it's motir, which causes Semicha and Chaf, if that's why, it's not nicker. That's why, that's a chiluk between here and Semicha and Chaf. Because here the shumin, if you hold noilat as a problem, when it's nicker, shumin is called nicker.
Is that the only time noilat is an issue, is when it's nicker?
According to Bnei Baruch.
One-to-one relationship.
Right. According to Bnei Baruch, even according to Bnei Baruch, the whole noilat is a problem and it happens by itself, it's only when it's nicker.
So then if you had something that was pure shuman, and there was no such thing as saf l'mala because the whole thing was shuman, then there would never be a problem with noilat.
Correct.
No, there would be.
No, if I can't, when the shuman turns into liquid, it's a short nicker.
Well, the whole thing is.
The whole thing is nicker. It's even worse. It's like ice.
Right.
The ice that you crush off and turn into water, the whole thing is nicker.
So what if you put some regular ordinary shuman in first before you put the solid fat in?
And
melt it.
Yeah, if you have.
Yes. That would be like ice and water.
Correct. Yeah. Ice and water. It's like ice and water because it mixes together. It means basically...
What melted would not be nicker now, because it's
correct, mixed with other shemen, with other oil. So basically, according to the Mechaber, who doesn't go for Bein Baruch, Noilad is only also when you do it b'yadayim, you put it there, even though it's be'en, shuman be'en, and it melts. If you didn't touch it, you just put it next to the fire, according to the Mechaber as mutter. But Bein Baruch says that even if you leave it there and it happens by itself, it's also awesome. Now, there's another thing, if it's in a liquid, and you can't tell that it's noilad, then that's a heter according to everybody. But shuman, in water, says the Magen Avraham, looks, you can see it there, it's still separate, therefore it stays awesome.
If it's the case in a liquid and you can't tell, and it's mutter, would we apply any ideas of basel barav, or it makes
no?
What rub of it
doesn't make a difference.
Is the stuff that melts?
Doesn't make it's not basel barav. It's not nicker. It was never nicker by itself. It's not. It doesn't look like noilad. That was seen in Shimon Shenchaf. Nothing to do with bitter barav. Since when you crushed it, it went straight into the other water. It was never nicker by itself. I don't see that you're creating something. You don't see that you're creating something.
So the bottom line, Mechaber is choshesh, not choshesh to
correct.
Baruch, and the Ramah is.
Correct. The Sfardim are very easy over here.
Right.
They have no problems with Sfardim. Only if you do it b'yadayim. But the Ashkenazim. So now, from now the Magen Avraham on, I want to go through this child we spoke at the beginning. We spoke at the beginning. Take ice out of the freezer and you just put it there, and it melts by itself. Let's say that is considered that I didn't do a mice, right? Room temperature, I didn't do a mice. So what will be Allah according to the Bein Baruch? Is that Asr or is that Mutter? So if you hold the Bein Baruch holds that Noilad is Asr, anything that turns from a solid to a liquid becomes Asr, then I should be Asr. But if you hold, no, Bein Baruch is just saying, he's adding to Rashi. Rashi said, b'yadayim, you crunch it up, it's called Noilad. Even if you put it next to a fire, it's called Noilad. But if it happens by itself, he's Mekel. That means there will be a big difference. Is the Bein Baruch coming to tell us that any time a solid turns into liquid, it's Noilad and it's also because it's a new thing, even though he didn't do anything? Or is he saying no? Of course it's not also because of Noilad. No, it's a Noilad over here. That's called that you did something. When you put it next to the fire, it's called that you did something. The reason why I'm stressing this is...
You have to add a third category, which is what the Magen Avraham said. No, if it even happens on its own, and if it's nicker.
Yeah, so let's put that aside.
No, we can't, because those two, it would seem to be that 1 and 2, the ones that are the same, because the Gemara already refers to that. The only time you have a chiddush here is in the case when you have something that's nicker. So the noilad is nicker.
Right.
Without noilad being nicker, the Gemara already dealt with that.
That's mutter.
And it's mutter.
Yeah.
So it can't be that the Bein Baruch.
Maskim. That means you take ice and you put it into a pitcher of water. Everyone's maskim it's mutter.
Right.
If you put the water next to the oven, it gets hot. Let's put that aside. That means if it melts into something else, it's a heter across the board. Everyone's masking that's mutter.
There's no noilad.
There's no noilad. Everyone's masking it's mutter, unless it's shumin, which is nicker into the thing. But you take something, you add ice to whatever it is, and you want it, even if you want to put it next to the fire so it to melt quickly, it's not called noilad.
So you could take an ice cube and put it into a tea.
Correct. When I take an ice cube, put it into a tea, it's mutter according to everybody. It's mutter according to everybody. Even a Bein Baruch.
An ice cube?
Huh?
You pour tea on an ice cube?
Oh, that's something else. Because then you're melting it.
Right.
And it's not, and maybe...
It's all the same. You put in the hot water.
No, because then, so that could be, once it's melting, it's already in the tea. That's the Magen Avraham in the end of Rishon Gimel pouring hot water onto dirty plates with shuman. Same thing as pouring it onto your tea. Pouring your tea onto an ice cube.
We're assuming here that there's no visual issues. You're dealing with
right. No issues. Don't worry, the water was already cooked before you made it into ice cubes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be the case. Otherwise, it's not visual.
Right.
Unless it's a klisheni.
What if the ice cubes were food-colored red, and you put them into regular water, and now the whole thing is red?
Yeah.
I mean, it's nicker. Is the water nicker, or is just the food coloring nicker?
I don't know. It's a good question. Now you have to ask your rabbi.
So of course,
that's an interesting question.
So taking tap water and then putting ice into it, tap water that's not cooked,
Yeah, what's
No,
wrong?
okay, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
Pouring tap water on ice cubes.
So now basically this is a big machlokes in the place game. That's why I want to show you from the Magen Avraham in the Pri Megadim where the machlokes is. Everyone knows the famous machlokes. If you have ice cubes and you put it in a bowl and they melt and you want to drink that water afterwards, you're allowed to drink that water afterwards. Right? Ice cubes that melt into a bowl. So according to Rashi, according to this Friday, they have no problem. They have no problem. But according to the Ramah, that's machmer like the Beinu Baruch. So it depends how you learn the Beinu Baruch. If you learn the Beinu Baruch that he says to only put it next to the fire because you're doing an isser, right? It looks like a malacha, then it melts, then it's a problem. But if I put it out on the table, I'm not doing anything, I'm taking it out of the freezer, then it should be mutter. But if you hold the Beinu Baruch as a chiddush, that it's called noilad, and his chiddush is anything that changes from ice to water is aser, then water from ice cubes will be aser. Then the water from ice cubes will be aser. Because it's noilad.
It's a machloket.
That's a big machlokes in the Beinu Baruch. I want to bring you two rayos from the Magen Avraham.
Even in that machmer opinion of Beinu Baruch, you still could get around it by making the water non-nicker. Is that right?
Correct.
So if you put some water in the bowl first, then put your
ice cubes, 100%.
Then, even according to every,
it's okay.
No such thing as saying that.
Correct. If you put water into your bowl and then you put the ice cubes into that water, it's not nicker, then it's mutter.
It's not a problem to do that because
it's not a problem.
It was never a malacha. And
right. It's mutter lechatchila to do that.
Yeah.
That everyone agrees it's mutter. It's bottled. It's noiled into something else, and it's not nicker. That's mutter lechatchila. That's Semicha Chaf. The question is, you take ice cubes by itself without any water in the bowl, and you put it in the bowl and it turns into, or, another example, you have a frozen soda. You took it out of the freezer. Right? The whole thing is solid frozen. And now, slowly but surely, it melts on Shabbos. Can you drink that soda now? Because there, it's not melting into something. The whole thing was solid frozen. Same question.
So if that's a problem, would it be a problem to put it in the freezer to cool it down? With the chashash that if you leave it in too long, then it would freeze and then it would be a problem.
So they have a different question. Who says that freezing something is a problem? We see that taking something that's frozen...
Not necessarily, but...
No, but that I was going to ask you. So can you take water and create ice cubes?
That's a different question. That's the opposite way. We're not talking about that now. We're not talking about taking ice cubes and making it into water. A lot of Rechaim want to say the same way you can't make ice cubes into water, you shouldn't be able to make water into ice cubes. But it's not so partial, because we'll see, if you hold, there's no one saying noilad, right? Only if you're doing a ma'aser b'yadayim, you have to put in water into the... Let's leave it the other way for... Let's leave it for now.
No, but let's assume that it's okay, then it's an issue of... Remember we talked about if you leave something, you can't put something near fire that's got edible because you might leave it for too long. And
we don't make up zeros. That's a zero. If to put something in the freezer, even if you hold, it's also to make ice cubes on Shabbos. You don't say you can't put your soda in the freezer because it may turn into an ice cube. We don't find that. We don't make our own zeros. Whatever they say is also is awesome. Because there's a problem, maybe...
Put it in and just to cool down for whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Here it's a problem because if it's cooked, it's the ice official. If it becomes ice, it's not so partial that's even also b'chlal. So you can't definitely won't make a gzeira, don't put it in. So I'm going to show you from the Magen Avraham two rayos that the Rabbeinu Baruch is only coming to Aser to say that the same way you can't do it b'yadayim, you can't put it by the fire because it's as if you did it b'yadayim. But not pshat that every time it turns into liquid, it's aser. So let's continue Magen Avraham. You'll see two rayos to that. Not all the Achraim agree with this, but this is a lot of the Achraim do hold this way. So if you look at the Magen Avraham, we just left umashma that fill up with the evet aser lechal hashum and have a noilat. See that line we just left off?
Yeah.
Right, Mem Beis. Umashma that fill up with the evet aser lechal hashum and have a noilat. Even with the evet you can't eat it because it's noilat. So first of all, the Magen Avraham says umashma. If the whole chiddush of the Sefer Shumas is that anything that turns into liquid is aser because of noilat, what's the umashma? That's the whole chiddush of Beinu Baruch. That anything that turns into liquid is aser. Says the Magen Avraham umashma that once you were over and it became liquid, it's aser to use it. What's the umashma? That's the whole din of the Beinu Baruch. That anything that turns into liquid is noilat and it's aser. So you see that the Magen Avraham learned to Rabbi Baruch that the issue is to make it into liquid, to do a ma'isa to make it into liquid. The fact that it became liquid is not an issue. Says the Magen Avraham, "Hapashtat atzma muteres." Why? The beshumin abalua ba ain't issue. Midid hava chatichas basa shamuta lechamer k'machchaz Rabbi Yosef. The shumin that's melted in the pashtida was never offered. But after the kima the neser shumin be'en choyze v'nivel pashtida v'neser. So he says a different problem. If the shumin on the pashtida melted and it was be'en, and then it got absorbed into the pashtida, so then you didn't necessarily put it by the fire, so it melted. When it melted, it was sitting on top of the pashtida, and then it got absorbed into the pashtida, so there was a time that it was asr. When it was sitting on top of the pashtida, it was ban, it was asr. But Chabakam says the Magen Avraham, Yesh lahakab with the evet mashchasav remah. With the evet, it could be mekel, and you don't have to worry about it. So if you have a pashtida, even though you put it next to the fire, and it melted, and then it got absorbed into it, you don't have to worry about it, says the Magen Avraham. Fine. Then the Magen Avraham says, venerally, so one raya brought from was the mashman that filled with the evidence also. Here's another raya. Says the Magen Avraham, venerally, the mutter litan pashtida, koydim shmusa kataner, you're allowed to put the pashtida by the fire before the fire was turned on, which because of say simulation of gimel. Like it says the simulation of gimel, that fill up a nice in kedera, koydim shahusak, potter avlasim. So if you remember we had a simulation of gimel, to put a pot on the fire, on the stove, and the guy is going to come put it on the stove. So if the guy is doing it to heat up the house, therefore it's not a psik ratio, the guy doesn't have a psik ratio, and therefore it's not a problem. So there it says potter avlasim. It's mutter, it's potter avlasim. The question is mutter lechatchila or not. Says the Magen Avraham like I shita before, the kol shkin hacha, the yesh matirim, litain afilu agash husak. Here, the Mechaber holds, even after the fire was on, you're allowed to put the pashtida next to the fire, because there's no problem of noilas that's happening in Memela. B'chol hapochis yesh lahatir koydim shehusak. Says the Magen Avraham, even though we're going to ask to put the pashtida next to the fire, because it's noilad, it's going to leak out and it's become noilad, but the amatirim, the Mechaber is matir. Therefore, for sure, we're allowed to put it on the fire, on the stove, before the fire was lit. And now the guy is going to light the fire. Therefore, it's mutter. Before you put it on the stove. Because they're not a chiluk, the akam is better to do it through a gun. So the Magen Avraham basically saying like this. Mechaber holds, you're allowed to take a pashtida and put it by the fire. Masha Ein Kain, the Ramah holds you can't put it by the fire. You want to take a pashtida and put it by the fire before it's turned on, and then the guy's going to turn it on, you could do that. Even though later on it's going to become noilad, still it's mutter.
It's funny, he's learning from over there in Rishon Gimel. When we talked only about Bishul. With the whole Isser, the whole...
He's doing Bishul.
Bishul.
And here?
And he's saying here, right, because of that, you don't even have to worry about Nolad.
So what are you saying?
It seems to how you compare the two.
Why not?
And you still could say that there still could be a problem with Nolad, even though you could do that over there.
Why is it a problem with Nolad?
Why is it Kol Shekain?
Why is it a problem with Nolad? What should be the problem? So it depends how you learn. It depends how you learn. The Prima Godim asked your kasha. I don't understand one's Bishul and one's Nolad. It's Prima Godim's kasha. But it depends how you learn the Bein Baruch. If you learn the Bein Baruch, the whole issue is that I'm doing a malacha, I'm doing noilad, that's why it's aser. It's not different than bishul. This is a bishul, I'm doing a bishul. Here, what's the problem? I'm doing a noilad. I'm putting it by the fire. It's called like as if I myself made it into a liquid. Here, if I put it on before the fire was lit, the same by bishul it's mutter.
You haven't done anything.
Here it's I didn't do anything. The same by bishul it's mutter. Here it's mutter. But if you hold the issur is the outcome that it's noilad. So then, what's the dimmy from here to Bishul?
So
the Prima Godim...
This is the second raya. It's a beautiful raya.
Yeah, this is the raya. If you look at the Prima Godim asked the kasha on the Magen Avraham. Prima Godim over here, in Sif Katan, where are we here? Sif Katan Mem Beis. you look at the end, sorry, Mem Beis, the end of Mem Beis. B'masha kosav nitin pashtida koydem shehusak. The last line or two of the Yechiel Avram, Sif Kot Mem Beis. Have we had the Adam? The last line or two, he said like this: B'masha kosav nitin pashtida koydem shehusak ataner loy havi noisi. To love mitam bishul kasin Allah, ki mitam noilad. To pound noilad. Vafilu henicha b'chama aser yesh machmirer ki ba'is mem. So how did he learn the Pri Megadim? What's this kasha? The way we understood the Bein Baruch, the Pri Megadim's kasha is not a kasha at all. Why is it a kasha? Because even though we learned the Bein Baruch, the issue is to go do on noilad. If I didn't do it, happened by itself as mutter. If you learn the Isser, anything that's noilad is aser, then the Pri Megadim has a good kasha.
Okay, but I would ask on the Pri Megadim, the line here, mitam noilad afili nichol b'chama aser, the Yesh Machmir don't say that.
Yeah.
By what?
By nichol b'chama is aser.
By what? Not by water.
By water. Nichol b'chama, if you put it in the sun.
You said the Gemara said in Shabbos.
Yeah.
If you did it, if you left it, if left alone on this by itself, everybody agrees that it's mutter.
No one said that. No, if you put it into something, everyone agrees that's mutter. If you put it into water and it melts,
that's a different thing, right? If you crush the ice, then we learn it. The way Rashi, but anything that's done on its own, that's Rashi by itself.
That's Rashi's shita.
But Rashi is the most makbar of the shitas.
No, okay, Rashi is makel. Rashi holds that it's only if you do by time. If you leave it in the sun, Rashi holds it's mutter. So Rabbi Baruch says leaving it in the sun also is awesome.
No, not Rabbi Baruch. In the Gemara, you have the Gemara that has that, and you have the way the Rashba learns, the way the Ran learns it. Everybody agrees that leaving it on its own
is mutter.
Is mutter. Yeah. The only chiddush. The only chiddush that we learned was that when you're talking about that it's fat and it's something that's nicker. That's a chiddush I can understand. Even if you leave it on its own, that's why you're going to say it's a chiddush that's going to be aser. But water on its own, all the Rishonim come out, like learning the Gemara, that it's mutter.
Well, why do you say that?
So I don't understand.
The Gemara
where do you see that?
Gemara Shabbos says also to crush snow for water, but one may unreservedly place them in a cup or a plate.
In a cup? Meaning, because it's melt into something.
I don't know, like here it's
yeah, melt in. There's water in the cup. There's something else in the cup beforehand.
No,
it's not how kais means because there's something in the cup beforehand.
Yeah, just say the Gemara doesn't say that.
The Gemara doesn't say that if you let put it in an empty cup and leave it there because then it's mutter. The Gemara does not say that.
No.
No, the Gemara says you let put it into a cup because there's something else in the cup beforehand. And therefore it's melting into that water. The Gemara doesn't say you're allowed to put it into a plate because you're not doing anything. The Gemara doesn't say that.
No?
No. So you're allowed to put it into a kais because it's melting into something.
I guess we have to see that.
Yeah, look at the Gemara again. Look at the Gemara. The Gemara never says, it can't be the Gemara says it because the subplates come after it. Rabbi Yasha says it's after it, they're not going to connect with the Gemara. The Gemara says you're allowed to put it into a kais or a kaira, meaning there's something else in there beforehand, and it's melting into that, therefore it's not nicker, then everyone agrees. But to put it into an empty plate and it's melting onto that, don't heter. I mean, the Gemara doesn't say the heter. According to Rashi, it's show mutter because you have to have rishus b'yadayim. If you put it b'chama, it's mutter. According to the Rabbi Baruch, if you put it in a plate by the sun, it's definitely also because it's heat. The heat's melting it. We're saying room temperature is not called that you're doing anything.
So,
and according to Rabbi Baruch, it'll be mutter.
According to Rashi, what's the difference if you're putting it in the sun or you're putting it in a plate?
No difference.
And so therefore, which is?
According to Rashi, I see what you're asking. According to Rashi, he's saying it's without proving what's the chiddush?
Right.
And you're not doing anything to be dying.
Correct.
No, but the way it means is you're not being merasik in the kais. You're allowed to do a ma'aseh b'yadayim and break it up in the kais. It doesn't mean that I drop it into a kais. According to Rashi, what's the chiddush? You're allowed to drop it into a kais. You're allowed to put it in the sun if you want. The answer is Rashi. According to Rashi, the chiddush is you let it be merasik into a kos. If you look at Semicha Chaf,
even with no water.
No, only with water in it.
That's the part that's not clear from the Gemara.
Oh, because it still can't be nicker, even according to Rashi, it can't be nicker. Even according to Rashi, it can't be nicker.
No, it's like this. I'll tell you like this. If you look in Semicha Chaf, the Mr. Brewer is bothered by Kasha, and he says Shin Chaf.
Which
Shin Chaf Sif Tes.
Yeah.
That's the case of Shelag. So you're right. You have a good Kasha. The way we say now the whole time, according to Rashi, you take the ice and you put it into the sun. It's mutter.
Right.
Right. So what's the chiddush of putting it into a kos?
Right.
Right. What's the chiddush? So there's two mahalchim in the Mishabur and Shin Chaf. Either what he's saying is you're now being merasik b'yadayim, but you can put it into a kos and don't do anything and let it melt in the sun. It doesn't make a difference.
And there's nothing.
That's the chiddush. Even though there's nothing in the kos.
Right.
Or the chiddush is that you can put it into a kos and be merasik b'yadayim in the kos.
If there's something.
If there's something in the kos. Look at the Mishabura in.
So that makes my question. So then the question stands.
Why?
And then how do you understand the pre-begotten? In other words, we're saying that Rashi is the case even without something being in the sun.
Because Rashi holds that if you put it in a kos, it means in the sun. Ben Baruch doesn't hold that way. Ben Baruch would hold, so you can't put it in the kos in the sun unless there's something in the kos. Unless there's something in the kos.
Okay, so then going back.
Depends how you learn the Gemara.
So the Gemara, there is a case to go. So the case of the Gemara is that it's not in a kos with something else.
According to Rashi, maybe, right. According to Rashi. Yeah, I hear. According to Rashi, you can learn the Gemara.
So the way I was learning, right, that's how I was asking the Kasha. I don't hear the Kasha.
Yeah, the way you learn Rashi could learn the Gemara, the Techa Kos means an empty kos.
Right.
Yeah.
So what? Yeah.
But Beit Baruch can learn that way.
I understand, but that's fine. So then why? He's asking now that the Prima God is asking and saying that the second raya that the Megan Avram is bringing is not a good raya because Bishul and the thing. So you don't have to answer like that. So you can learn like Rashi.
Yeah, but according to Beit Baruch, how do you do with the Gemara?
And but to say that it's not a proof. So here we're showing that we have a proof that Rabbi Baruch learning that the noilad is
the problem.
Is it right?
Right.
Okay.
Look at the Mishnah Berurah Lamed Shin Chaf Lamed Dalet. Says you put it a kos ve'ein choshish kivin le'ovid ma'aser b'yadayim le'gozuvei. Since it didn't do a ma'aser b'yadayim, it didn't make a gzerim. V'yesh matirim afil l'raslik b'yadayim l'tech kos. V'tam the kivin shenis'ar b'masham l'tech kos ve'ein be'en. Right, so
there, that's the second one, but it depends which mahalik you go.
Yeah, and according to the Rabbi Baruch, you count on the first pshat.
Right.
Because he holds with the Chachama is also, even though it's a Mela. So according to the Rabbi Baruch, you count on the first pshat.
Rashi.
According to Rashi, on the first pshat. But once getting back to the Prima Godim now. So the Prima Godim has a kasha, if you put it on the fire, and then, if you put it on the stove, then you light the fire, it's mutter according to the Rabbi Baruch. If it's Prima Godim, what do you mean? It's noilad. And noilad is also. That's the Prima Godim's kasha. It depends how you learn the Bnei Baruch. If you learn that any time it's something new, it's aser, even though you didn't do anything, then it's a good kasha to Prima Godim. But the Magen Avram obviously didn't learn that way. He learned that the problem is that you're doing a ma'aser, you're doing something. If I'm doing something, here it's not called doing something. So it's a very good raya that if you put something on the fire, then you turn on the fire afterwards, it's mutter.
So according to the Magen Avram, what is the difference between Rashi
and the Sefer Tshuva
and Rabbeinu Baruch when he is learning that you're doing something by Rabbeinu Baruch?
Because when you put something next to the fire,
right?
According to Rabbeinu Baruch, it's called you doing something.
Right.
You're melting it. According to Rashi, that's mutter. According to Rashi, take something and put it next to the fire.
Because that Rashi holds that's not called doing anything.
Right. That's called a mela. That's pashtida. That's the mechaber. That's a mechaber.
That's called the mela.
That's called you're not doing it. That's called the mela. According to the Rabbeinu Baruch, it's called you're doing something. I wanted to finish up here. One second. We're holding here. Okay, you know what? We'll stop here. We'll continue the Rambam in the Magen Avram next week. I'd like to finish the Simon next week. Should be able to.